Hi, Lynsey. It's
Hi.
very nice to welcome you here today for our latest episode of What Does Good Care Look Like? I think I want to start with your early experiences, because I always think that's really important when it shapes people's values and where does that come from. And I know working with you that your values are second to none. So I'd like to know where it all started, what inspired you. I know that you did a master's in psychology.
I did.
So what made you take that direction? What pushed you there?
Well, I think initially when I did my bachelor's in psychology, I think I just wanted to help people. I was always interested in health care, so I think I initially thought about being maybe a nurse, or then I was told to reach higher, so I thought, well, maybe I'll be a psychiatrist, and then eventually I ended up on psychology. And I think for me, kind of naively, well, very naively actually, I think I entered that degree with an idea that I was going to change the way schizophrenic people were supported and understood in society in general. And the reason for that was because I've always had this sense of that there are different ways of seeing the world.
Yeah.
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 And no way of seeing the world is right or wrong. And sometimes you have to ask whether a way of seeing the world should be considered as unwell or whether it's just a different way of seeing the world. So back then, age 18, all those ideas in my head.
Everything.
I am going to change the world.
I'm with you.
Yeah, that didn't kind of work out. I was like,
Yet.
yet. That's very true. So that's why I ended up doing psychology. And then when I finished my degree, I took a small side quest and had a baby. And I ended up doing working at a day service for adults with learning disabilities, doing relaxation therapy and that kind of thing.
Absolutely down with that. I've had experience of that in professional settings where I'm not probably supposed to be the one relaxing, but absolutely got down with it. I'm with you.
And I really enjoyed doing that. It was a really lovely job to have. But I worked mainly with people who had profound multiple learning disabilities at that time. And then one day, a young man arrived in my relaxation room who I didn't know. I didn't know where he appeared from, to be honest. But he had autism.
Yeah.
And he ended up coming nearly every day around lunchtime, or days that he was in, he'd come around lunchtime, and we just had such a nice time. We would just sit and look out the window and have a bit of a chat about the day, and we'd do some breathing exercises, and we ended up doing massage and hands and feet and things, and he would really relax and go to sleep. And then I think about 2 or 3 weeks later, I saw him not so happy in a different session. And I was really surprised because when he was in the room with me, he was really calm. So that started me thinking, well, what's working here that's not working there?
Yeah.
So I spoke to my line manager about it, who told me that I couldn't work with the autistic people because they were too dangerous.
Interesting.
And I think that was the moment where I just went, no, that's not the case.
No.
That's not the case. So that's what I'm going to do. So I focused on that, did my master's in applied psychology of learning disability and autism.
Brilliant.
And then following that, did a bit of work for myself for a while, did a bit of consultancy work. And then I worked for a provider for 10 years and headed up their positive behaviour support team. And now I am with another provider. Am I allowed to say the name?
Yeah, you are.
Yeah. And now I'm with Active Prospects.
Yes.
And I made that move because I think every move I've made in my career has been about trying to help more people.
Yeah.
And being in a position to do that. And with Active Prospects, we focus on supporting people who've had a long time in hospital, usually under the Mental Health Act, and finding solutions that work for them in the community. And And that I am still very passionate about that. And I think it stems all the way back to what I was saying at the beginning about
you
people
can't
have
work
different
with this
perspectives.
group of people.
Yeah.
Well, yeah, that as well. But I think I think our early experiences are really important because they either inform exactly how we think things should happen. And I know a lot of my early experiences in social care, I had some good leadership around me about, people's rights and what it looked like and how people should be treated. All people should be treated, not just the ones that we think are, fit for society in big inverted commas. But I also think the negative experiences that we hear or see can, set us off in that direction too. And I heard that from you in terms of, we don't work, you're not going to work with that group of people. And it's absolutely not your experience, clearly.
No, not at all.
Yeah.
Absolutely the opposite, really.
And that can drive a career, can't it? Like that.
Yeah.
That kind of thinking.
Yeah. Yeah. Also, being the youngest girl of 3 older brothers, I don't tell me I can't do something.
I've got 3 brothers as well.
Yeah. Tell me I can't.
Yeah. I'm going to go and do
Watch
it.
me try.
Yeah, exactly. I'm with you on that. Real. So I think I've seen in your work at Active Prospects and from the whole team a real push for good environments for people. Because you said earlier about you noticed someone's behaviour in a different session was so very different to the behaviour that you saw when they were with you in that session.
Yeah.
For me, that just screamed environment, and I'm talking wider than maybe just the bricks and mortar. Do you want to explain that a bit?
Yeah. I mean, environment is so important. So I think starting with thinking about someone's sensory needs is a really good place to start with environment, and what do they enjoy? What makes them feel happy and excited on a sensory level, but also what's aversive for them. Yeah, we are working currently with someone who must have a garden. We are also working with someone who cannot have a garden. So you have to be flexible and creative around how environments work for people. Lots of people need space, like proper space. Some people need separate rooms, so they can have a separate kitchen, a separate living room, obviously separate bedroom, separate bathroom. But each room has its own role and tasks that can be done in it. If they're all mixed in together, so you've got a bed sit or something like that, it can be really confusing for people or overwhelming. So those things are important, but also being able to tailor the space to an individual's needs, so lighting, heating, those sorts of things, being able to play with that daylight, those sorts of things. So those are important. Location is important as well, being able to get to all the things that you want to do easily. For a lot of the people that we work with, public transport is really tricky. So that means they need to be living somewhere where they can get to what they want to get to by walking or by a short and cheap taxi ride. So they can't be in the middle of nowhere, even though they might want to feel like they're surrounded by nature. So it's really thinking about who is this person and what kind of life do they want to live, and how do we match that to the environments that we have available.
And they could be changeable environments as well, couldn't they? So in certain conditions, I might want a much warmer room. If I'm, getting cozy for a film of an evening, I might want a warmer room, for example, than if I'm rushing around getting ready for work. It's 2 separate tasks are being carried out in the same space.
Yeah.
And to have the control and be able to do that, because I've worked in plenty of environments where, like just the little things like central controls of things, there's a temperature that we think is, a typical working temperature for most people. It'll be comfortable, but actually that's not always the case. And it can change with mood, with activity, with all those things.
Yeah.
How important is the environment being able to be controlled by the person as well, and that kind of changing need? I think that
Yeah.
that comes into play.
Yeah, definitely. I think you're definitely right. I mean, we've even little things like dimmer switches.
Yeah.
So that if it's today's the day where you need to have lots of light because you need to see exactly what you're doing, maybe you're doing some detailed artwork or something, you need to be able to turn that light right up. And then other times you can't deal with lights at all, so you need to turn them down, and having control over that. And like you say, heating is another one where it can really depend on where if they're feeling really anxious today, they may need that heating down a bit.
Yeah. And how do staff interplay with environment? Are they part of the environment?
They are.
I knew the answer to that question. I just thought I'd ask it anyway.
Where are you going with that, Amy? Of course they are.
Obviously.
Yeah. Yeah, staff are really, really important in that equation, and getting that right is probably the trickiest bit. Getting the environment right, you can do a pretty good job of that from the outset, and then just little tweaks as you go along. Getting staff support right and the support approach right can take a little while. You got to know someone really well before you can get that support really fitting them.
Yeah. And how do you said earlier that each of your roles has been about kind of supporting more and more people to live a good life. Or I might have paraphrased that slightly. How do you get, as you're kind of under your remit, I suppose, is more and more staff, more and more people being supported, how do you manage that, or all of those things, and make sure that people know what they're doing? And we know the environment we're operating in at the moment with issues with staffing, in terms of just having enough staff sometimes is a challenge. How do you manage all of those things and keep them well organized, I suppose, when there's so many more than there were at the start?
Yeah, it's a really good question. A work in progress.
Yeah, I think everybody feels like that.
I think what works is we have a very flat kind of hierarchy, I guess, at Active Prospects. So myself, the Director of Care and Support, CEO, we know the people that we're supporting. Yeah. We know the managers well. We know some of the staff, particularly if they're, perhaps I'm in and out of that service more frequently, I'd know more of the staff. So that helps, because there isn't this sort of separation between what's going on in an office and what's going on day to day in a service. Always say to the managers, I am here. I am here. If you need me, you need to, you might have to chase me, but I am here. So I think that helps. I think also you have to have allies. So you need to have key people within an organisation that understand what it is you're all trying to do. So you're all working towards one shared purpose. And then that filters out more naturally, doesn't it, through an organisation?
Because you can't be everywhere.
No.
All at the same time. So, yeah.
No, you can't. No, it's not. Someone could, if you could invent that would be great.
Yeah. Yeah. We can do a lot of things.
I think also it's the people that we support, their voice has to be really key, involved in their own sport, but also in what we do as an organisation.
And knowing them, I guess, is essential to that, isn't it? I know how directly you're involved. There's been situations where you've been the on-call facility for some, for one person because of what's gone on. But I think it's fundamental, isn't it, to knowing how to respond and how to advise people in that situation if you're not living it.
Yeah, definitely. And sometimes it's reassuring, isn't it, for someone who's feeling distressed for whatever reason, to know they're talking to you and they know who you are and what it is that you do, and you've got shared history with them, shared experiences that they've had with you, so you can reassure them in a way that someone they don't know can't.
Yeah.
So I think that's really helpful. And the same with staff. So if staff have done training with you and they've seen you in and out of the service, and then they've come to say, actually, I'm really struggling with this, you've already got rapport and connection there, so you can start to unpick and unpack, as we like to say. So that can all help as well.
Well, I know you're working on a wellbeing project at the moment, aren't you? How's that? How did it come about, and what results are you seeing from it?
It's great, actually. It's one of those sort of smile factors for the week, the wellbeing project. I think it was back 2019 we developed a wellbeing outcomes framework, and we did that because we wanted something that was more than an approach to behaviour of concern. We wanted to focus on what is it you really want out of your life and how are we going to help you get there. So, lots of research and a little bit of adjusting and making things fit. We came up with a framework that has 8 domains of well-being. Then we talked to the people we support and said, what does this mean to you? How does this make sense for you? And then we created it into an outcomes model. So we've got a kind of a process by which someone reflects on each of those 8 domains and what works for them, what doesn't work for them.
They reflect on the process for them, which I think is an important point to make, isn't it? It's not the staff doing it for them.
Yeah, if they're not able to reflect on those domains, maybe they lack capacity and they're not able to reflect, then it's handed to family members and other people to do a sort of best interest reflection. And then based on that, we end up with we call it the baseline score, which is a self-rating on how happy or content you are with that area of your life. And then we use that to plan goals with people and then support them, break them down into tasks and then support them through that process. So we can maybe revisit that in 3 months, 6 months, 9 months and see if...
benchmark then.
Yeah, see if they're feeling better, if we're going in the right direction. So we talk about it a lot as being a wellbeing journey. And we're just there to kind of carry your bags and point the way on the path and see what adventures we come across as we go together. So we've been doing that internally in Active Prospects for a while, but we now have a project that is external because we're a charity. We can do things under that umbrella. So we're now supporting 100 people.
Wow.
Who are neurodivergent and have mental health needs, living in the Surrey area, which is great. So we have a little team of coaches that meet with them and are their guides on that journey, and we see how we can assist in getting people from where they are now to where they'd like to be. And that's been great. It's been really, really positive. But, we've seen some great outcomes for people. And we've seen some people feeling much better, which is good.
What kind of things do people say that they want for themselves?
So initially, it's sort of changing over time, which is really interesting. So initially, we had a lot of people who were very lonely, who were really struggling with isolation. And I think, we started 2023, and I wonder if that was still the tail end of COVID and the lockdown. Goals around social interaction and finding new groups and being able to get out and do things more, building confidence to go out. They were really common. And then the other thing that was really common was health. So goals around healthy lifestyles, losing weight or eating healthier, exercise, sleep. Sleep is a massive one that comes up really quite a lot.
People saying that they struggle to sleep well.
Yeah. It comes up time and time again, that one. So that was initially, and now we are coming across more issues around sensory needs, particularly environmental. People setting goals around being able to go outdoors more and out into nature more. And skills, people wanting to volunteer, wanting to find work, wanting to do some qualifications, but needing some sensory support to be able to get through those doors.
Yeah.
So
that represents the path, like you said, that it was their wellbeing journey. Do you think that represents the journey that they've taken with you since starting this work?
Yeah,
That's really good.
Yeah.
And I can imagine, because we don't talk about it a massive amount, but lockdown for neurodivergent adults with learning disabilities, was a complete shut off from the world, wasn't it? For a lot of people who struggle with communication and scheduling and planning, to have everything. I know we all suffered, like everybody felt those challenges, but it was to the extreme for people whose world relies upon a scheduled event every week, going out certain dates, relies upon certain levels of communication that don't exist over video. And I think maybe, as you said, the tail end of that maybe was at the start of the project, but as people got back out in the community and had more life experience, maybe sleep improved, because those two things are well connected.
Yeah.
And now we're moving on to the next level, which is actually purpose, isn't it? Is making sure that our day-to-day has drive, ambition, achievement, all of those things.
Yeah. I certainly think the group of people that we work with has spent a lot of time in hospitals under the Mental Health Act. And we see the same thing in them as well. So they started with, goals around social isolation and wanting to build confidence up to be able to go out and meet new people and cope with those sorts of environments. And now we're starting to get to the point where some of them maybe have lived with us 2-3 years, and they're starting to think, so I've done my recovery now from having been in hospital and now learning to be in the community, learning to live like everyone else. And now I want to start thinking about, what am I going to do with my life?
Yeah, what's next for me?
Yeah. And is it going to be like this forever, or am I going to make more steps forward? So starting to get people thinking about things like budgeting and debt management and jobs and relationships, like romantic relationships and deeper friendships, which we haven't seen that as much before with that group of people. So it's almost like it's just an extended recovery period, and now it's kind of, now what am I going to do?
Yeah.
Which is, it's brilliant.
It's exciting.
It's brilliant and really exciting.
Yeah.
But it's also pushing people out their comfort zones more.
Which is how people grow and develop. No one ever learned anything from getting it right the first time, did they?
No, definitely not. So, but, and of course, for them, every time they maybe make a mistake or something goes wrong, they're filled with that fear of what's going to happen to me now because I've made a mistake. And it's like, do you know what? We're just going to dust ourselves down.
Did that.
Get back up and try again, shall we?
That's it.
Yeah.
And that, building that resilience, I've spoken about that a lot of people. And this kind of, I think it comes from a risk assessment world, where we plan out all risk and all potential for things to go wrong. So that only tells people, surely, that when things do go wrong, it's an absolute catastrophe. Whereas actually, the reality is, we all do things wrong every day.
Yeah.
And as I say, nobody ever grew from getting it right.
No one grew from staying in the safe zone.
No, absolutely not. No.
And and letting, reassuring staff that it's okay for people to make mistakes.
Which is probably the biggest part of it, isn't it? Is that our staff are allowed to make mistakes too, and modelling that. There's a whole big question there. We don't enable it, do we? We don't allow it.
No. And I think, I often say in training, if I had a penny for every time I've opened my mouth and said something that I later regretted and thought that was not literal, that was not a concrete thing I said there, I'd be a rich person. So trying to encourage staff to just say, it's going to happen, it is going to happen, just own it. Just own it, say, sorry, you're right.
I didn't mean to say that,
I made a mistake, and let's all learn and grow from that and move forward.
Yeah, absolutely. I reckon within your work now, you've probably got some really great examples of good care and things that you're really proud of. Can you think of maybe some of the highlights of, obviously we don't want to share people's names and personal backgrounds and all of that stuff, but if you can just maybe lean into some of those examples, I think it's helpful for people to hear how things can go well and what you can do. Maybe starting with the transforming care work. I know that you've supported a number of people out of very institutionalized, complex, challenging situations, like you say, to go on that period of recovery. How do you even begin that? Can you think of a good case?
Yeah, I can think of a couple. I might look up a lot as I'm imagining it, like remembering. But you know, if I think, there's one young lady we support in particular who, when I met her, was in a very bare room in which she had removed most of the plaster and brickwork off the room. It was therefore not safe for her to be there, physically safe for her to be there anymore. So she moved as an emergency placement, and ideally we didn't have an environment ready for her, but she needed to move that quickly. So it was a very difficult first year as we tried to get the environment right for her. And I think, you know, there were times where we had to move from one location to another because she had removed various important things like pipework and wiring in one place. So we had to bail out in the middle of the night to another place. But we eventually got her house sorted. So she had her own house, and it wasn't a flat in with other flats. It was completely her own house. And over a period of time, she also needed the same staff. But that became really clear. She needed consistent, reliable staff that she could predict how they were going to react and behave and respond to her. And she needed a routine that we later discovered she wasn't in charge of, because if she was in charge of her routine, it would become very complicated very quickly, and it's not her fault, but the staff couldn't keep up with it. So she needed a routine that we were kind of in control of, because then we could make it something that was going to be consistent and we could stick to. So it took probably about 2.5 years, I think, to get all of that really settled and in place. And now, well, I think like a couple of weeks ago, she went on the train to London and went up the Shard. So there's photos of her looking out over the whole city of London. You know, she's done amazing things, and she had, you know, her house is in one piece, Amy.
Is it?
It is in one piece.
How did you manage this?
Has been for a long, long time now. Well, I think it's things like we realised she didn't want cupboard doors.
Yeah.
So she needed shelving.
Yeah.
We realised...
Why do we enforce these typical housing rules in every environment?
Yeah. We realised that she has such sensitive hearing that she can hear when something's broken. So she could hear when the washing machine broke before anyone knew. So she could hear it sounded different to her.
So when it was starting to deteriorate?
Yeah. She could
wow.
hear it. So she removed it.
Yeah. Well, to be fair, she's only thinking ahead.
Yeah. Put it in the back garden.
Yeah.
So we put in, we managed to get a system in place where she had a pot within her funding for maintenance. So if anything broke or she indicated something was wrong, we could get someone out to fix it really quick.
Yeah, makes sense.
And spend a bit of time talking to those maintenance people to say, look, you might get there and go, it's fine. It's not fine. She's telling you it's not fine.
And she knows better than you.
So you need to be looking, you know, to see what you can find that might be wrong. So I think those two things are the biggest things that have made a difference to her. That and the staff team being the same. Very low arousal, very low demand. But yeah, she left her house alone for quite a while now.
Amazing.
So that's good.
How did you get to the root? Because I think I've always been a firm believer that every behaviour is communication. Like, and I know you think in the same lines, and most people do now, which is good. We've kind of progressed that far. But how did you get to the bottom of that scenario? I guess, where did you start? How did you unpick? Forgive the pun. How did you unpick that behaviour and why that was taking place?
I think Observation and understanding of sensory needs. We knew she had hypersensitivities. We had an OT that worked with us, so helped us understand how severe some of those sensitivities were. And then trial and error, I think. So, I guess it's that I have a natural curiosity about how people work.
Yeah.
So when something happens that's unusual,
there is a reason for this, and we know there is. We just haven't found it yet.
Yeah, removing your washing machine and putting it in your back garden is unusual. So instead of being like, how do we stop this person doing this? My question is, why is she doing this?
Yeah.
And if we can understand that, we can make it so she doesn't need to, because, she's got other more important things to do with her time. So I think...
I'm sure it's pretty heavy as well.
Yeah, very strong. Really strong. So I think given, some of the behaviour that she'd have, like scrunching her eyes up and blocking her ears and pulling things like hoodies and stuff over her head, we knew sound was the key issue here. So then we could just backtrack through. So when the washing machine's outside, we're like, right, okay, well, let's assume it's a noise that's the problem. So let's have a look at the plumbing. Let's have a look at how things are, running through the system. But also, she was never angry when she was doing that. She was just persistent. So you can ask her, what is it that's the problem, and she will help you resolve that.
Well, that's really helpful, isn't it? What do you think in terms of the team? What was their role to play in all of this? Like, I guess you've got a very specific role within the organisation, in terms of PBS and in terms of that kind of analysis and great care planning for people and all of that stuff. How do you bring them on board with that? How did they, in this specific situation, did they feel responsible for moving things forward for her? How did they? Because I think sometimes in organisations we can see a separation between what we're trying to deliver as a PBS team and the staff. I'm sure you've heard it as well, that feel that they're there on a day-to-day basis, that there's lots of things happening, and there's almost like a defence, I think, sometimes with teens, that they feel that they're being criticised because they're seeing something take place in someone's life, and actually maybe they're doing something wrong, and there's all those kind of hidden people issues, aren't there, in the middle of that?
Yeah.
How did they get involved in it?
Well, I think also support work in particular, in this case, support work, it's really high pressure, and it's really complicated. That you have to have a lot of different skills to be able to do support work well. And I think recognising that and the pressure that people are under changes the way that you respond to them, and in turn the way they can respond to you.
Yeah.
So if you don't go in with what have you done wrong, this is this is on you, you're responsible for this, that is a really good starting point. So I think engaging them as being co-detectives on what is this that, what is happening here and why is it happening and how do we help this person, that helps. But I think also for a lot of the people we support, the staff team are really genuinely fond of them. So sometimes, the battle is to remind them they're not their friend, they're not friends. And that if people need friends, then that's got to be our key goal, is to help them find friends. We can't replace that. But in this case, the staff team are just, they really genuinely care about this individual, and they want to understand it, and they want to find out what's causing the concern and make it stop, so that she doesn't have to be in a situation where her house is falling down and she has to be moved out in the middle of the night, So it's protective to be on board with, let's work out what's happening here and why it's happening. So I think that has been really important. I think also consistency. They've had the same staff team there for quite a long time, and so I think that helps as well, because they remember different experiences that they've had. They have shared experience across time, and not only does the young lady know that, she knows they were there when this happened, but they were also there when it got resolved. She can trust that they're going to keep working to find a solution. But that doesn't always happen.
Really important for people. No, I think that persistence, the reliability that someone's going to always be there for you, I think is fundamental to human existence, isn't it? The fact that we've got somebody that we can rely on, they're always there. And sadly, I think that's sometimes what we have missing when we have, a change of staff team, and there's some really great agency workers, but lots of agency workers and lots of changes of face and all of that stuff. We lose that trust and belief that someone's going to help me here.
Yeah.
And I've always seen with your teams that kind of reliance, that you're dependable, that you'll turn up, that you're there when somebody needs you. I've always seen that in the work that you do. And I think that's a really important part of your success.
Yeah. Yeah, I agree. I think you can see where a service is working well, where someone is making lots of progress and their outcomes are improving month by month or whatever it is. You can see that they are the services with settled staff teams.
Yeah.
And sometimes, with particularly new services, it can take a year to 18 months to get that staff team settled in the first place, I think. And that's always a challenge. But I work on a principle of you need at least 2 people that are core people that you feel familiar with. So let's go for 3. And if one person leaves, we'll build up.
Back up. Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah. That makes sense.
So I think that's really important. But also I do think that we have to, as a industry, as a sector, we have to constantly be looking for how do we provide care in a way that people don't become dependent on our care.
Yeah, it's a tricky one, isn't it?
Yeah.
Because you want them to have that sense of belonging, and that there's almost, there's someone to fall back on, but without being too dependent on one person. It's a really careful balance.
Yeah.
How do you generally manage that? Just by having, a mix-up change of face, maybe a bit, maybe the structures and the way that people are supported helps.
Yeah, I mean, I think also it comes back again to those wellbeing outcomes. It comes back to focusing on this person's life. They're not
my
part
life,
of
it's
your
not
work.
life that I'm in. Yeah.
So what is it that they need ongoing?
Yeah.
And then you become less relevant.
Yeah.
Don't you?
Yeah. Because actually, the core to my life, the fundamentals are me and my plan.
Yeah.
And actually, you just play a part in that.
Yeah. So, I think there's an element of good care being very quiet and in the background, and just enabling someone to do what they want to do and what they need to do.
Yeah.
Without really being in the spotlight or a spotlight of their life as much as possible.
Yeah.
Not always possible, but as much as possible, or at least heading in that direction. And that's where the real successes come, I think.
Yeah, definitely. So if you were to summarise then, you're not going to say what good care looks like. I think maybe drawing on some of those well-being I think that feedback is really crucial, isn't it? Because it's given you the building blocks really of what people want and need.
Yeah.
What would you say the core components are?
Well, I think I train in this, so I teach in this a fair bit, and we talk about the definition of social care being enhancing the well-being of vulnerable people. and that boils down to what does a person need, what does a person want, and how do they feel about it. So good care for me is different for everybody. I'm sure lots of people have said that. It's different for everybody, but it is focused on what does this person need, what do they want, and how are we going to get there whilst they remain content and in control of that journey. And it is truly different. If I think, I have an elderly mother who is living in residential care, and what she needs on a day-to-day basis is completely and totally different to a young person with autism and ADHD and mental health needs. Her goals and her reason for getting up and her engagement totally different. So the care has to be totally different. And I think as long as the people providing that care are really thinking about what does this person gain from what I'm offering, then they're going to be going in the right direction. So for me, that's what good care would look like.
And more so, we touched on it earlier, that's about a little bit more than Maslow's hierarchy of, the base level of need, isn't it? We're talking about aspiration, which is a massive part of active prospects. We're talking about purpose. What's the top 3? Oh God, this is a challenge now. Probably should have warned you of this beforehand. Maybe not top 3, but give me your top achievements that you've seen enabled for somebody because of good care. Where have people been able to reach that that in different conditions and different attitudes they wouldn't have got there?
Okay. Can I give 3 really quick examples?
Yes.
Okay. So we had a group of people who were socially isolated, who didn't want to or didn't feel confident in going to groups or meeting new people. And we brought them together slowly, step by step, brought them together for a group that was around table tennis.
Okay.
And then a few weeks later, we realised they were very chummy. They were very chatty, like they had something going on. And when we looked into, sort of asked some questions, they joined pickleball together at the local leisure centre and were going to the cinema and out for meals on a regular basis, which they didn't mention.
Actually.
Right. So number 1 would probably be not being needed.
Yeah, absolutely. It surely has to be the top of all of our agendas.
Yeah. So is that. We've also supported someone recently who achieved their very first ever qualification.
Brilliant.
Which was amazing. It was a level 2 kayaking certificate. But it was the first qualification, piece of paper qualification. Yeah. And the way that person responded to that and how overwhelmed they were that they'd been able to do it, because inside their head they hear the voice that says you can't do anything, you can't do anything. So now we're able to go, yes, you can.
Remember when you did? Yeah.
And then I think most recently, I was very fortunate enough to go and see somebody I used to support many years ago for a number of years get married.
Oh, brilliant.
Which was amazing. But even back then, we were 15 years ago, that individual, we were working on the same principles. We were working on what is it you want, what is it you need, how are you going to get there?
Yeah.
So to see that come full circle, no longer living with social care, own job, living in the house, getting married, moving on.
Again, not being needed.
Not being needed.
That is the
I'll make that my
number
1 there.
That can be your new slogan. My job, hi, I'm Lynsey, and my job is not to be needed.
Yeah.
Love it.
Fabulous.
It would be a bit remiss of me not to talk about the impact that technology has had on environments for people. So just from your perspective, what having those extra tools or having those sensors around someone's home environment, how has that enabled better care for you?
Well, I think it's made a huge difference, if I'm honest. I think firstly, from a staff perspective, it means that there is one system that is overseeing lots of different things, which is hugely helpful to someone like me, because if I'm trying to bring in an epilepsy sensor from one person and maybe a movement sensor from another person and something else, then they've got 4 different sensors that are all operating in different ways. So invariably what happens is they stop using them.
Yeah, they find workarounds, don't they?
So there's that from that perspective. But I also think the combination of the sensors that are provided, can I say?
Yeah.
By Just Roaming.
You can.
The sensors that are provided by Just Roaming meet the needs of the people that we work with, active prospects, really well, because I'm a very creative person, and your team can be very creative as well. So if we need something that is hidden so no one can get to it and pull it apart, that can be done. If we want to try and plan and look at different patterns of movement and behaviour, we can use Just Roaming to evidence that. And it's that depth of information that adds a whole new angle onto what happens when you're not there.
Yeah.
So,
and that could look very different to what happens when you are there as well, couldn't it?
Yeah. So, on occasions we've supported, people who do not want to have someone in their space, in their flat, and therefore do not engage with staff support at all. But Just Roaming allows us to know that they're healthy, well and safe. And that means we can leave them to explore that environment without somebody just popping up randomly. I mean, I don't know how I'd feel if I was at home and someone just popped up randomly to do
I always think around sleep patterns, like I know for a fact, if my bedroom door goes in the night and it's opened, I'm awake immediately. I don't know how people sleep through
No.
those kind of observations.
That kind of information means that you can just let people have their life and privacy, but know that at the same time that they're safe. So I think that's a real positive as well. But then also I think it can be really helpful for staff to know when they should be interacting and offering that support. And we have a number of people we support with self-harm risks. And I think when we first kind of started talking about Just Roaming, self-harm risks weren't necessarily like the top.
They were not on our agenda, put it that way. I think we thought that, well, there's an element of really high risk around it, but there's also an element of how do you capture those things in a way that you get it every time, because it's always been on our remit that if it doesn't work, it's no use to anybody, because they will lose trust in the system. They won't rely on it when they need to, and all those things. So we built in, we made it core that we have to be there. If somebody calls us at 3 a.m, we need to be there. That kind of thinking around it. But you've proven otherwise.
Yeah. And I think it's become one of the things that we rely on to be able to support people who have fluctuating capacity, so can choose for us not to be in with them in their home, which is totally fair enough, but may also at any moment have a change of mood, and something might happen on a phone or that we're not aware of that might trigger a panic response, which may end up being self-harm. So knowing where people are in their flat, being able to set up patterns of movement as red alert means that we know when staff have to go in to check, or we can message to check, something along those lines. But we also now have, we have one person who will press call for assistance now. So if they're feeling that distress and they're thinking, I might self-harm, they're now pressing call for assistance.
Which is music to my ears, because that means they feel that they can rely on it.
Yeah.
Can't they?
Yeah.
They trust it.
Yeah. And we were able to not just go running in.
Yeah.
We're able to now have a conversation with them over text or WhatsApp or something like that, just to see, are you ready for us to come in? So that enables that co-production, that you living your life the way that you need to live it, but safely, in a whole new way. In a whole new way. Because imagine if someone, imagine if your favourite staff member wasn't in today, they were on holiday or whatever, and it's someone that you don't know so well. Are you going to want them sitting in your flat all day? Is that going to make you more or less likely to get anxious and overwhelmed, and then lead into potentially something happening? So being able to give people that space and that freedom and privacy and respect and responsibility.
Control over their home. I always think we work really hard to say that this person's home is their home. And obviously with monitoring technology, that can feel like we're doing the opposite thing, because what we're saying is we're effectively spying on what you do at home, that we can have that kind of reaction from people. But I've always worked really hard to say, no, this is absolutely the opposite. This is about giving people their space back and doing it in a way that is least intrusive for them. And obviously, if you're somebody who feels that this way of doing things is not the least intrusive for me, then it wouldn't be the right solution, would it? But the people that we've worked with and lots of other people up and down the country, this is about giving people their space back.
Yeah. In fact, I haven't told you this one yet.
Oh, go on.
So we've recently been trialling the epilepsy watches.
Yeah.
So one young lady was able to go to the cinema with her friends without support, with support workers just being in the local area. And she did unfortunately have a seizure, but they had the Just Roaming handsets with them. The watch alerted the handset.
Well,
they were able to be in there within 2-3 minutes.
Amazing.
And support her.
Yeah.
So she didn't have to leave the cinema. She was able to continue.
Did she watch the end of the film?
She watched the end of the film.
Amazing.
But that's what tech can bring you now.
Yeah, definitely. Independence.
Yeah.
Independence is such a loose term, isn't it? I hate using it. But it is freedom, actually. It's not independence, because I think we've made that too clinical. But it's freedom.
Yeah. Yeah.
Freedom to roam. There you go. Thank you very much. It's been really, really informative.
My pleasure. Thank you.
Take care.